Well, hello and welcome to Co-Creating the New Earth Together. This week, I'm especially excited to introduce my friend Mark Bajerski. I'm sure many of you already know and follow his work. Mark is a psychic, pure energy healer, and is especially knowledgeable about crystals, and we'll talk more about that later, I hope. He is the author of 4 books: Diary of an Accidental Psychic, Hold That Thought, the Little Book of Healing and Empowerment, Seeing the Invisible, and From My Heart to Yours. Mark also runs the Pure Energy Healing Academy. We met in Spain about 12 or 13 years ago, I can't remember exactly, when I was living there. And I was privileged to attend several of Mark's healing circles and to receive healing from him. I can tell you that Mark really is the real deal. So welcome, Mark.
Hi, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And it's really beautiful being here. I hope you can all hear me okay. It's a privilege to be here tonight. And before I start, I want to just say that many years ago, I took a circle and that kind of started with 1 or 2 people, and then slowly but surely, trusting in the work that I was doing, it kind of grew to 5 and 6 and a few more. And I remember this guy coming one particular time. He didn't kind of look like the spiritual type, like with clothes like me. He just looked like a normal, average guy, like most people are. And he sits down, and that particular night I was doing a flower reading on everybody that was there. And I remember this like the times that something burns into your memory. This was the one night that this moment burnt into my memory. This guy came over and introduced himself. He says, "I'm Jack." Shook my hands. He says, "Really interesting night tonight." He says, "You reading the flowers?" I went, "Thank you very much." He says, "You know it's not the flowers that you're reading, don't you?" "That was you, Jack." And I smiled and I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And it's absolutely right, Jack. We can use so many different things that help us connect to the energy of what people call source or spirit or attunement or awareness, whatever you want to call it. And you're right, you can use anything. You know, my mum used to use tea leaves. You can use a crystal ball. It doesn't matter. It's whatever helps you attune to that higher self. That's why I never called myself a tarot reader or an angel reader or a flower reader. I'm just a guy who's just looking to try and find some kind of answers towards helping people along their journey, whether it's to make them feel better or whether it's just to give them a message from their family in the spirit world that only they truly understand. Because any healer knows, I believe, most healers don't particularly know exactly what they're saying as a healer, a psychic, an intuitive reader. They just give a message, and that message is kind of like when you relate back to somebody, they go, "Oh my God, I know just what you mean." And I'm like scratching my head saying, "Oh, well, I'm glad you do." There you go. That's my introduction. I mean, you're a guy that I don't know. It's just you meet so many people in your life, and some of them people touch you in certain ways just by saying something. And I just wanted to tell you that that's what you touched me in that way, and it was confirmation, your channeling, your truth, that made me realize that you're not a flower reader. You're just a guy who's channeling energy from whatever spiritual tool of divination that you choose that night, and you were bang on.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mark. I remember that night very well too. It was a brilliant night, and all the circles that I attended with you were absolutely wonderful. There was always so much energy in those rooms.
Wow. Yeah, I think that was partly because of the people in the room. and I don't take credit for that. But what I did take credit for is that I learned to understand energy, and I saw energy, Jack. It was plain for me to see and feel. And I used to tell the people who were sat down, the only time I'm going to begin is when I feel the energy is above your head. And I used to feel the energy from the floor down, and I used to feel it coming up to my ankles, and then my knees, and then my thighs, and then going through all the chakras till it hit the top of my head. That's when I'd normally start the real work, because I realized that you've got to get the energy right in the room. And there were various people who used to come to the circle who came to help me. And I knew who they were, and you were one of them, because of you wanted it to be a good night. You wanted to give and make this an exceptional night for everybody. So the few that were there to make that energy powerful was something to me like, thank God I had people like you, Jack, who were there to hold that energy high. Do you understand that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you. For the benefit of people that don't know who you are, do you want to say just a little bit, because you used to be an auctioneer, didn't you?
Yeah, when I was a young lad, I was an auctioneer. That all happened again by accident. Everything in my life was an accident, to be honest with you. A friend of mine, excuse me, a friend of mine had a big unit, and I'd just finished something that I didn't want to do anymore, which was hairdressing. I just gave up. I just couldn't cope anymore. I was so nervous doing it. And I realized I couldn't do it anymore. It was just awful. And I ended up having irritable bowel syndrome, worse, because I was a hairdresser. So I gave it all up, and I needed to find a new career. And this wonderful guy was one of my clients, and he saw me out one day. In fact, he wasn't just one of my clients. He drove the Rolls Royce, which was his, at my first wedding to a lady called Jackie. We were married, first of all. That was my first of 2 marriages. So he said, look, Mark, I've got this unit that you can rent from me. I won't charge you a lot. He says, and you could turn it into an auction, and you could be driving a Porsche at the end of, a few years. And I went, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. So I set up an auction house, and I got an auctioneer from the local market who used to basically really confident, strong, and he was brilliant at talking to all the crowd. And I thought, this is the perfect guy. So we're all sat down. All of a sudden, people come in. We've got some lovely furniture and objets d'art, and it was just great. I was so excited, and I was going to write down everybody's number who was making a bid, because they had a card and a number. And he starts, and he looks at me, and he says, can't do this, Mark. And I went, you what? He says, I can't do it. I'm nervous. And I'm like, what do you mean you're nervous? What are we going to do? There's like 150, 200 people in here. He says, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I says, oh my God, just give it here. Now, bear in mind, I've got dyslexia and dyspraxia. I took that paper with over 300 lots, and I never looked back. I became an auctioneer that people used to come to just for a night of entertainment. And that is the truth. So I ended up with 2 auction houses, 3 businesses in the centre of Huddersfield. One was called Exhibit at Marsh, and the other 2 were in Kingsgate Shopping Centre. So I was a busy bee, flying around, working for solicitors, estate agents, and I can kind of put my hand on my heart and say I was very trustworthy. The staff that I had were trustworthy. So, if we ever found a Rolex, or we found loads of money, I found 15,000 once, and that's an interesting story. And always, gave it back when I didn't need to, but I felt it was the right thing to do. And because of that trust, even though the solicitors would keep it themselves, and that's another story, but they trusted me. So I ended up having a really successful business, but then I wasn't fulfilled. So I ended up leaving all of that one day. Can't cope with it anymore, even though it was successful. I gave everything away to the staff. And then I moved to this magical mountain here where I am in Mijas Pueblo. This is in the Andalusian mountains. Mijas is a beautiful whitewashed village with, unfortunately, abused donkeys that people ride all day. That's the sad part about it. But it is a magical mountain. It's a very high energy because we're high up. I believe there's something in that. I think that's why the monks, the monasteries are always high up. There's a reason for it. It's good energy, it's high energy, and it's clear energy. So I think from that point on, like everything in my life, synchronicity had played, just like your lives, plays a massive part in our journey, which is Spirit's helping hand that lead us gently to the right path that we should be on. Sometimes we listen and sometimes we don't. And this time I listened. And from that moment on, when the pupil is ready, the teacher appears. And I believe that this world is an experience world. So we experience things along our journey. So we could be a father, we could be a mother, we could be a carer, or we could be a healer. And it just happened to be that I walked the path of becoming a healer. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, Jack. And to this day now I'm retired. And I just simply teach people how the technique that I used has helped my clients over the years become the best healer they are. And that's what I share with people to this day. And amongst that period of time, from this moment where I'm sat till the start of the moment where Spirit started introducing me to people and people coming into my life, all of that, what's been filled was magic. That's all I can say. It's been magic, and I would never change one moment of it, no matter how much pain I went through and suffering and name calling and people judging. I just think I am so lucky to have experienced all what I did and to understand life more than most people who just simply chase their tail every day and have no understanding because they're too busy in their own life trying to pay bills, trying to look after their kids. I was blessed to have the opportunity to have at that time a partner who allowed me. I know it sounds a little bit corny, but she did allow me. She said, go, do it. So I was left to be able to not feel guilty and to put my whole heart into the tens of thousands of clients that I worked on all over the world.
Now, you say that when you first saw me, you thought I was just an ordinary guy.
Yeah, like I am.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm going to make. You were very much an ordinary guy when you moved to Mijas, weren't you?
Yeah.
And then you met somebody.
Yeah, I met a few people.
Yeah, but you met somebody in particular who helped you.
I did. Yes, I did. Yeah.
A Scandinavian lady.
That's right. Yeah, I did.
Do you want to talk a little bit about her, about that?
Sure. Well, I was actually fooled, and she realized that she needed to fool me to get me to where I needed to be. So she was very, very, very astute. And by fooling me, she told me, I met her at a big show where I was selling, funnily enough, magnetic hematite jewelry, which were one of my best sellers in the UK. And I knew a lot about hematite. I knew a lot about the magnetic force that if you put into hematite, it's fabulous for your blood flow. So I met her at a show and I was just talking to her and she says, oh, that's wonderful, my dear. Would you mind coming to a house and I'd like to introduce you to some people. So I'm saying, sure. When? She said, next Tuesday. So I'm thinking, perfect. So next Tuesday comes, the phone rings. I've got my bag ready with all my magnetic jewelry, thinking I'm going to meet a lot of people and they're going to, listen to my, discussion about magnetic jewelry, which is fabulous. And when I got there, it ended up that there was no mention about my jewelry. I put my bag down and all of a sudden people were very quiet. There was a smell of incense, which was a bit weird to me because the only time I ever smelled incense was at school because I went to Catholic school. So at the church, we could smell this incense. So it was a bit weird. And the people were nice. And over in the corner on the table, there was a whole load of cakes. And all of these people were Danish. So you can imagine Danish pastries. They looked amazing. Yeah. So I thought, oh, this is going to be hopefully a nice night. And at the end of the night, we can all have some tea and pastries, which looked amazing. And then all of a sudden, the conversation stopped, and some music got turned up a little bit, and then she asked me to sit down, and everybody sat down in sync, and all of a sudden everybody closed their eyes, and I heard this thing that, like, even today, it scared the living daylights out of me, and it went all in tune with each other. They all went, oh. And at that point, I think my heart started racing, and it nearly leapt out of my throat. The thoughts and feelings of what was happening in that room and what was going to happen. I was in a room with a cult. They were all, I don't know what they were going to do, sacrifices. It was like, I was so scared. And this is the truth. There was a point where the second came, and I thought, okay, where's my bag? Can I get to the front door? Then I thought, what if they've locked the door and taken the key out? I'm gonna feel. And then just as that thought came, this lady who enticed me there touched me on my shoulder and said, it's okay. It's okay. Close your eyes. And with a beautiful smile, and all of a sudden this trust came over and this energy came over me. So I closed my eyes, and there was a final and at that final I just thought, okay, if I can endure this night, there's a load of cakes there. And really it was the cakes that made me stay. And that was the start of the journey of my awakening understanding of what had happened in my life and who I was up to that point that I never knew.
What do you think about, I mean, you said you thought it was odd, you thought it might be some kind of cult. There's so much misinformation and wrong ideas, aren't there, about this kind of thing?
Yeah,
in the general perception.
Yeah, that's because the only thing that mainstream media feed us is the cults that end up poisoning the whole of the cult, or trapping themselves into caves, or doing horrendous things. So all I ever knew is what the black screen showed me, and all I knew is that anything like that would end up in death and destruction. So we were programmed as kids to believe that all of this stuff was hocus pocus, skullduggery, trickery, and stay well away from it. So, if you're programmed that way and you don't see anything else because the program only shows you that, then eventually you're just going to believe it. And again, I was programmed like most of us are, one way or another.
Yeah, it's sad in a way, isn't it, that there's so much misinformation. So how long did you spend with that group, and what did they teach you?
Oh, I think I spent a good year to 2 years with them, going once a week. It was wonderful. The first real moment of relaxation was the most powerful and profound. That actually, was amazing. It was just amazing. I went back only because my wife then said, you've been a lot happier and a lot kinder to me. And I went for a walk, and I felt so bad because I was in such a bad place, because I'd come to a magical mountain and I didn't have a job. I didn't know who I was. And to be honest, when you look in the mirror for the first time, it's scary. It's really scary. So I thought, okay, if it made Susie happy, then I'm going to go back. So I went back the second time, and this time I was ready for the OMS. They didn't affect me as much. And then through that 1 hour of whatever they were doing, which I still didn't know what they were doing, didn't really understand it. I was like so confused because nothing was said to me. When that hour had finished, we all opened our eyes, and I found it really bizarre because it felt like time had just disappeared. It's gone. It's like, hang on a minute, it's been an hour. Like, that was weird because it felt like 5 minutes in that moment. And they all started speaking in Danish, so I didn't know what they were saying. And then they turned to me. Everybody started talking in Danish, and then they turned to me. And this lady said to me, she was called Inga. Inga said, oh, Mark, what did you see? And I'm thinking straight away, I didn't cheat. She said, no, what did you see? I said, I didn't cheat. I had my eyes closed, so I didn't see anything. I wasn't looking. She says, no. When your eyes was closed, what did you see? Like, can you imagine? I've never heard any of this stuff before. What are you talking about? And she says, just think, what did you see? And as soon as she said, just think about it, what did you see? I saw this old man, his face just shot up in front of me. And he had a white beard and white hair, and he was in his 70s, maybe 80s. And he was smiling and laughing, and then it was gone. Anyway, I didn't want to say anything. And she says, please, Mark, tell us what you saw. And the way she said it, the way she encouraged me, I think was really incredible. And I said, okay, I saw an old man's face with a white beard and white hair laughing. And then everybody looked at each other. And like, I knew I'd said something that had made them all smile, and like, I didn't know what it was. And then they said, Mark, do you know why we are here? And I said, for the cakes. She says, no. She said, we're here because we're here to send our love and healing to one person every week. I went, oh, okay. I didn't know what she was on about, like. And then she said, and this week, we were sending healing, and she said his name, and she said, and this person that we're sending healing to is in his 70s, he's been in hospital, and today his granddaughter came and blew bubbles in his face, and he was laughing for the first time in 3 or 4 months that he was been in hospital. And he's got white hair and a white beard. And then they all went quiet and just gave me that opportunity for it to sink in, not to rush on to something else, not to somebody else in the group saying, listen to me, I'm amazing. I saw this, I saw that. It was like everybody was in sync, and they knew that I needed that space and time. Like after a massage, you need that space and time to be left alone, to feel that energy, or a healing session. Leave your client alone, let them feel the energy that's now gone into them, and let it become, let it morph, let it mold into their DNA, their everything. And that's what they did. They just never said a word. And the contemplation at that moment made me realize that there's something in this path. And that was the solid foundation of the start of my journey that made me so excited that there was something in this, that I pursued this work with a fine-tooth comb. And I've never not, every single day thereafter, I've never not said thank you for the opportunity of seeing what I see every single moment of my life.
So when did you realize that you had the gift to heal and to do psychic readings?
Well, that's a really interesting one. The healing one was the most interesting. And I have to start on that one first to move on to the other. So basically what happened is we decided to open a shop in this village. And then I saw another little opportunity to open another little shop. And that's been me, that's who I am. I like to open businesses. I get excited about that, not running them, but get excited opening them. So I opened this little business called Run by Angels. Can you imagine? I called it Run by Angels. Weird. So now I cleared a shop out down the road, and in that shop was crystals and cards and things like that. Anyway, I sold everything apart from a set of cards that was left over, and they were called Doreen Virtue angel cards, and I always kept them, and I didn't know why. And then one day I thought, oh, I'll make a little table, a little tiny table, cover it in purple, and put the set of cards down, and then say, please choose a card. Thought that would nice when people walk into the little shop. So people used to pick the card up and then say to me, what does this card mean? And I'd look at the card, and the card had like a couple of lines, and I'd say the lines, but then all of a sudden I'd continue, And before you know it, the client would say, where does it say that in that angel card that my sister is ill in another country, but she's going to get better and she's going to call you soon? Where does it say? And I'm saying, I don't know. So I'm as confused as the client, because I was just reading the first few lines, and I was saying, oh, this is what the card means. And then all of a sudden I start kicking into another mode. And then I'm scratching my head thinking, this is strange. Where did that come from? So I didn't even know that I was connecting to that person and feeling their family who were alive. And sometimes when they weren't alive, but the energy felt the same. And that confused me for a long time. So I was with a school teacher, and the school teacher came, and I started reading this card for her. And after like 20 minutes, I stopped reading the card and I looked up and she's got tears in her eyes. And I said, are you okay? She says, you've just healed me. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you've just healed me, Mark. I said, no, I'm not a healer. She said, no, you are a healer. I said, no, I'm not a healer. She said, what could be more beautiful than healing somebody and not even knowing that you're healing them? Another penny drop moment that just blew my mind away. And then I realized that there is such a thing called natural healing without even knowing. And that was the start of becoming a healer.
Yeah. It's and you also have a very close relationship, close connection with the spirit world, don't you, Mark?
I don't really know. I don't, it's easy for me to say yes, but like now I don't practice. So like now, sometimes I'll hear spirit, my ear pops and I think, oh, spirit's here. And then somebody say, who is it? I'll say, I don't know. I don't have a direct line that I can say I know exactly. But when I was doing the work, for some reason, when I was reading, all of a sudden I'd be able to communicate. And like I said, I had a problem that I didn't know whether they were alive or in this world, in a spacesuit, or whether they were in the spirit world. And that was always a challenge for me. I don't know whether, but to me, they both feel alive. And that was difficult. I didn't feel death. I didn't see death. I always felt that, oh, they're alive. No, they died. Well, they feel alive. So I'm sorry I've got it wrong, but it feels they're alive. They feel here. They feel like they're with you. It's like, so I wasn't like, the other readers in the world, the other mediums. So I never I could never go up on a platform and say, okay, I've got somebody over here. And I think I could never do that, Jack. It's not in me to do that. So it was always like a personal thing, or, I didn't have that gift they had. And I used to feel bad about that sometimes. And I wanted to have what they had. And that really held me back at one point. Like the Colin Fry, me and Colin became friends. And I said to him, Colin said, let's do something together. I said, Colin, I haven't got your ability. That isn't my gift. My gift is to be a healer and to talk to the crowd and heal them in a way. And I'm not bothered about whether you're connecting to your family and spirit. It's just about giving positivity and healing. And that's it. And for me, I had an issue with the fact that people wanted to desperately come and have a message from the spirit world, and that would really upset me. And I didn't want to take advantage of that. So I used to say, I'm not a medium. People used to say, oh, you're a medium. No, I'm not. But you read for my brother, and you said all of yeah, but I'm not a medium. Don't call me a medium. Don't call me a psychic. I'm a spiritual reader. And what I'd like to give you is what I feel about you and how powerful you are and how you can connect to your family in the spirit world and how you can feel them by way of signs, emotions, smells, senses, and all the things that you have that nobody else have. So what I tried to do is help people find their gift. That was what I loved most of all, whether it was a Hollywood star that only wanted a sugar daddy, that I tried to help them to find their gifting within, to find their spiritual path and understand there's more to life than fame and fortune. I tried to help people, even though they wanted all of that information that I would give them afterwards. But what I found myself doing is saying to everybody, don't say anything. Let me read for an hour. After that hour, if you've got any questions, you're most welcome to ask me anything if something didn't make any sense. That then made me feel like, okay, I can do this work because at least I can give them the true message of spirituality. And it's not about psychic readings of future and how rich or famous or powerful you are. It's about your journey and learning to believe in yourself and finding the gifts within you, so you're not looking externally to others all the time to give you the information.
You've also helped trapped souls, haven't you, to complete their transition?
That was my favorite part, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that, again, that was just like all by complete and utter accident. And till this day, they still try to guide me to a place to try and help people who are trapped in between two worlds. And about 4 months ago, I was up in the opposite mountain here, and I was walking with a friend, and all of a sudden I felt spirit to my left, and they kept walking. And I said, do you mind giving me half an hour? And they said, sure. They understood. They know I'm a bit weird. So they went off, and I then started trying to communicate to this beautiful soul who was on the mountain. And it took me about 20 minutes. And after that 20 minutes, then I felt I was getting through. Like I said to you, I don't discriminate between life and death. So I don't see them dead. I see them alive, but I'm just having to help them like I would do who is in this world in a bodysuit, and say the same thing to them. So I tell them who they are and give them all the information. And then all of a sudden that darkness, that heaviness, that guilt, that sorrow, that shame, the feeling of shock that could have happened to them, as in this person that happened to them in the moors when they were killed. I was able to help them, and then a light appears, their family appears, and then all of a sudden they rekindle themselves back into the home world. But to them, it wasn't even a second for the time that they were here over those hundreds of years. It's fascinating, Jack, fascinating.
Yeah, you've got another story, haven't you, about this house where you were saging?
I've got hundreds of stories.
I know you have.
I've done like thousands of house cleansings all over the world. So which one? Which one?
The one where you went upstairs and you felt an energy, and it turned out to be
I go up loads of stairs and feel energy.
Turned out to be the son that had died.
I've done hundreds of.
Okay.
Sons have died. If you want me to share a story, one of the stories was I was at a house in Ibiza. This is a story that I really, it was a really wonderful thing for me. And they had issues in the house. They just bought the house, and it was a campo house. It was all done out, and the lady was very clever. She never said anything. She said, would you just do a cleansing on the house? I started from downstairs and went all the way to the very end. And then I went upstairs, and then I went into this one room, and I thought, oh, somebody's here. I could feel somebody here. I wasn't sure who it was, but and I could feel the presence before. And when you're saging, they move away from the sage. I don't know why. Still don't know to this day. But it's like it's a cleanser. It clears all negativity. So they're off. So I get to this room. I leave the sage outside. I sit down on the bed. I'm looking outside of the window. The bed's here to the left, and I close my eyes. And all of a sudden, I see this old man in his, I don't know, 80s, 85, and all of a sudden he's coughing, and then all of a sudden he's got white foam all coming out of his mouth, all down here, white foam, and he's coughing and he's choking. Anyway, I helped him back into the light. It took about an hour, but this man was more of a challenge. And eventually, this this beautiful man left. And I went downstairs and I said, okay, I finished cleansing everywhere. And I said, I've done. And he said, how do you feel? I said, well, do you want me to tell you what I felt? Now, yeah, please tell us. I said, there was a man in a bed that he had white coming out of his mouth, and he was coughing and he couldn't breathe properly. And they kind of went, oh, wow, is he still there? And I said, no, he's gone. I can't feel him anymore. I helped him move into the spirit world. I don't feel him anywhere else. So I think I might have done the job, but let me know. About 2 months later, the lady called me and she says, you're not going to believe this, Mark. I ended up meeting a neighbor across their field who they hadn't seen because they only came on holiday at certain times of the year. And they said the person who lived in that house many years ago died of poisoning from a chemical that he used on his farm, and it got into his lungs, and they found him dead with white all down his face. A pretty interesting story. It kind of blew me away. I'm like, wow. And it's nice to get confirmation as well, Jack, because you think you're going crazy. A lot of times you think, you know, am I just imagining this? Am I? And this is another thing that I came to understand. The hijack of our spiritual path is it's just your imagination. But actually, it's the imagination which is the whole center point of connecting to the spirit world. And that's how they hijacked it. You've got a vivid imagination, mate.
It's seeing through the illusion, isn't it? The 3D illusion.
Yeah, I don't really know what 3D. I hear that a lot. I don't know what 3D illusion is. I'm like kind of old school. I don't really know what 3D illusion is. All I know is that in my world, a lot of the things that stop me from believing and for tuning and from talking about it is the shame that is given to me by my Catholic priests that told me that all of this stuff was evil. That's the truth.
That is so wrong. I mean, I believe that most children are born with these abilities, and they get them knocked out of them as children.
We're all born with the ability, Jack. There is nobody less than or more. It's just that some are lucky to be able to have parents who nurture us, and some kids are stubborn who will do it anyway.
Yeah,
because they don't care what people think. But I don't believe there's one person on this planet that isn't born with the same, because we're spirit inside, trapped inside of this spacesuit. So we've all got the same spirit, which means we're all powerful. We all come from the same ocean. We're just drops of the ocean that's inside this spacesuit for the time that we borrow this spacesuit. So it's how we are able to, that was my path, Jack. I realized that I have the ability to say, look, if I can do it, so can you, and give it a go. And I've seen a lot of people from not believing become believers and shining and changing their whole life. And yeah, being super intuitive. It's like, wow, brilliant, good for you. And the beautiful thing about it is that we're all different. We're all different when we attune to that spirit. We're all unique to our great gift. And that is what I think we're missing. And I don't know why we weren't born to be able to know what our gift is. But then as I walk that path, I started to realize, yeah, I know exactly why. Everything that happens from the moment you're born, you're hijacked. Every single thing, from the moment that another nurse gets you and slaps you and you get this stuff wiped off you when you should be connecting to your mum, and then from there you get things pumped inside you that shouldn't be inside you, and that is when the hijack begins. But then you can't say that, Jack, can you?
We've got to be careful how we phrase it, Mark. But I've already had a...
Sorry, but you know what? You have to speak the truth, and that is my truth and my understanding. The reason why I say that is because I have met many people whose parents refused to go down the medical path, and they wanted to do it natural. And what I saw from that moment on, from them children growing up to adults, is something that would blow you away. So I know the difference. I've seen it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Do you want to say something about the retreats that you used to do in Bali?
Sure. What do you want to know about that?
Well, just generally.
Well, the retreats were really interesting because I ended up joining forces, the three amigos, Mark, Bettina, and Ajan. Ajan, and none of us encroached on each other's work. We all had great respect. Ajan was a yoga master, but he also had great breathing techniques. He also used to do chanting, mantras, and was just an incredible inspiration to the people that used to come. Then Bettina had this great gift of attuning to food, and she wouldn't have a list. She didn't know what she was going to cook. She'd go to the local organic store and just grab whatever she could there, and then she'd just make what she felt we all needed to eat. And it was, I just can't tell you how incredible it was. It was just, it just got better every single time. Like, I was so excited to do these retreats because of the food, and because me and Ajan used to laugh all the time. And so did Betty. We all used to laugh, and all the people who joined us, we used to laugh. It was light-hearted and fun. And I used to do healing sessions and psychic readings, and I did the very end. I used to do a ritual night. It was a ritual blessing. So I'd go deep and try and pull out things within people that they didn't even know they had, and that was really a shamanic type work, mixed in with good healing work. And yeah, I mean, we did quite a lot of them in Spain and in Bali, and they were very, very successful. And the last one I ever did with Bettina and Ajan was 23 beautiful souls who came, which was a little bit too many for me. I was happy with about 15. So we had to work very hard on this one. And right at the very end of the night, I went to bed and I realized I was having a silent heart attack. So that was the point where I healed myself through the night and then said, I have to stop. And that's when I stopped, Jack, one-to-one to finish that night.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. But you also teach, don't you? You've got the Pure Energy Healing Academy.
Yeah, teaching's easy because it's not teaching, it's just sharing what I've learned. So I don't teach, I just share what I've learned over the years. And here, people used to come and, or wherever I was in Rome, or wherever I was doing my courses, my workshops, and it was always beautiful, was always wonderful. And of course, this really sad time, these past 2 years, everybody was locked up. It encouraged me to create the online course, which is just incredible. And yeah, I think we're over 2,000 healers worldwide now, growing every month. It's incredible. And these are some pretty awesome healers. So I'm really proud of them because they're all unique and amazing individuals. And Pure Energy Healing is a system that brings out the healer within you, not this is how you do it, ABC. No, it's giving people encouragement to finding their own gift and allowing them the space to feel as if they're allowed to be who they were born to be, and express themselves in any way they want, as long as they don't hurt the client, obviously. And it's a great 4 days. People love it, and I love it. So yeah, it's been a pleasure thus far.
Are they structured, or can people sign up at any time?
Yeah, my favorite pupils are the ones that walk through the door and don't know why they've come. That's my favorite, because now I know they've been brought by the spirit world, and they go, most of them actually look at me and say, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I've come. And I go, great, that's amazing, that's perfect. Because a lot of people who go on courses, they do a lot of courses, and they may be Reiki masters or pranic healers. And now I have to unlearn them from what they've been doing, on off symbols. Listen, you don't need any of those things on this course. Afterwards, when you've done this course, you can then use all of that in the pure energy healing, so you can use what you want. But just in this 4 days, let's just start again. Let's unlearn everything and begin again. Therefore, the best pupil is the one who knows nothing about healing at all, because they're not tarnished by anything, or the rabbit run. This is what I've always done, so I'm doing it. No, you don't. You clear all that away, and let's try and go deeper into a place that you can pull out your gift rather than Master Kokosui's gift, which was his gift, but isn't actually your gift. Just like me telling you, you must heal like me, but you're not me. So how can you heal like me? You need to heal like you. So you need to follow your truth. You need to follow your energy. You need to follow your intuition to where you need to be on this client. And how long and is your understanding. I can't tell you to do that. Oh, don't do that. That's wrong. No. That's not pure energy healing. Pure energy healing comes from a pure place, which is no telling you there's no such thing as no. You follow your guidance, and that's it. And that's the hardest thing for most people, because most people have been told to do A, B, C. Most people have been told that you're doing it wrong or you're doing it right. And I say there's no such thing as wrong and right, which freaks people out straight away. And giving them that freedom. One of the things that were always interesting to me as well, Jack, on a side note, was I used to say to I might have a group of 6 people or 8 people here. I used to say, look, the only one thing I'd ask you to do is, if you actually physically become sick, please clean up after yourself. And there's something so profound about going in such a deep place that sometimes you can release things that just instantly makes you want to be sick. And I saw that a lot here. And they were releasing toxic bile, or it was just not good. And I used to clean it up because they were busy doing the healing sessions. So I said, it's okay, I'll clean it. And then I thought, I'm not doing this, I'm not cleaning up no more. That used to happen a lot. And that fascinated me as well, because in the healing process, I realized that you're not just healing your client, you're healing yourself. Profound, knowing that and understanding that. And I realized when people say, oh, you must be a great healer, I said, no, I needed more healing than anybody in the world. That's why I did so many healing sessions. I understood it. There's no ego in me when I'm doing a healing session. I get upset when somebody says something awful, but I don't care whether people say, oh my God, Mark, you did a great job, you're amazing. I don't care about that. I care that you feel better. Do you feel better yet? Well, you don't need to say any of that. That's not important. My job is to try and help you become strong. And if that worked, great. But also, which should be equal, that is a duality, that when somebody, how do I explain this in a way? I do care, but I don't care, in the sense that if I do care, then I am going to cause more issue to my client. So I used to share this. I used to worry about my client when they left. And I found that my client took longer to heal. When I cut off from that thought and feeling and said, you know what, I did my best. That's as much as I can do. It's now up to them to move forward to heal. And I trust and believe that whatever I did, you brought them to me at the right moment, and I gave all I needed to do, and that's it. And at that point, when I didn't give a damn, was when my clients were then coming back to me saying, Mark, you're not going to believe this. And I was saying, oh, wow. So I realized there was something in the fact that I was worried about my client, which made me think maybe I am causing worry to my client. So if I'm sending an energy of worry, maybe my client can pick up on that and then cause themselves a delay in the healing process. But then if I saw them well and happy, that worked for a bit. But what really worked is saying, you've done your work, switch off, don't think about it anymore. The job's done, they're healed and they're healthy. And then right at the very end, when people used to say to me, what is it you do when you heal? I say, they're already healed before I've started. It's already gone. It's already gone.
Right, before we close, do you want to say a little bit about your crystals? Because you sell crystals, don't you? I mean, that's your main thing now, isn't it, really? I think, Mark, is it? Or would you say that's your main thing, or that
Yeah, I surround myself with crystals all day long because I like the energy of crystals. Everywhere you look, I have, Herkimer diamonds. I have, very rare crystals. Everywhere I've got crystals because I love working with the energy of crystals. But more importantly, I like to try and put energy into the crystal, which is called a memory. And one of my teachers once said to me that in the ancient text, that the true healers used to work with crystals, because they used to say, oh, you've done this before. And I'd say, no, I don't think so. Yeah. They say, yeah, you have, because you work with crystals and it was organic. This happened organically. And I realized that you can put a memory into a crystal because a crystal holds memory and it stays there forever. It's like a computer, except you don't need to type it. You just send the energy into it. And the best way to send energy into it is create the energy. So instead of me trying to create the energy when I first started, I just leave the crystal on top of my client and give the client a healing session. Whatever that energy I pulled through the universe was healing that client with was now a memory in this crystal. Therefore, this crystal held the same healing memory, the same healing energy that the client got. And that made me realize, wow. And like I said, my teacher said that the old healers used to work with crystals, and apparently what they did was they put their message into the crystal and they would give it to somebody across the world, and then another healer would attune to that and know what the message was. That was fascinating to me. But for me, I just keep it simple, and I gifted crystals to people and they said, oh, I feel so much better now. And I'm saying, okay, well, there must be something in this. So to this day, I'll work with 4 or 5 crystals. I'll spend a few hours on them and put a certain memory into that, and then put them on the website, and then people read them, and that's it. So my crystals are a little bit different than if you read somebody like a Crystal Bible. If you Judy Hall Crystal Bible, she has the understanding of crystals on one kind of understanding. Mine is on a basis of what I've put into the crystal. So I write what I've worked with that crystal for, and it seemed to have worked really well. And I have now one of the most successful crystal websites in the world. You're very fond of Moldavites, aren't you? Yeah, I love Moldavite. Moldavite never ceases to amaze me every day. And Moldavite is the most, I think the more I work with it, the less I know about it. And I think it changes as well, which is also very frustrating, because as the universe and the planets kind of change alignment, I see Moldavite doing the same thing. And although I've written a book about Moldavite called The Power of Moldavite, it should have come out 2 years ago, because it keeps changing its energy, because it's a life force of its own. Then I kind of like think, okay, well, now what I wrote then doesn't really make any sense now. So I have to go back and change it. And it's like I'm constantly changing it, because the crystal is evolving to shape the energy of what's happening in the universe. It's quite amazing. And some people just don't get it. And some people are just totally blown away by it. I hope I'm not going to embarrass you, Mark, but I've got to just tell this story. I bought a Moldavite from you about a year ago, didn't I? 9 months a year. I don't know. Well, you do as you remember, if you think back, because I lost it, if you remember. It vanished. Lots of people. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Jack. Terrible memory. What the point was, Mark, the point was that when you found out, you sent me a replacement. You gave me this. Yeah. And that means so much to me. It just shows that Mark is such a genuine guy. I give away crystals every day. Today, three crystals today to one lady whose mother has been abused by a partner. Another one to somebody who could not afford one. Another one, but I gifted over 100,000 euros of crystals last year, and we're breaking that already. We're already so. Yeah, I'm really proud. Like I had an issue with money once, because I thought money was evil, but it isn't evil at all. It's what people do with to get it or when they have it. So it's nothing to do with a piece of paper. So I do good with it. I don't need money, so it's easy for me to just give because I don't hold value to it, but I do respect it, and I do understand that we need it to feed and to keep the wolves at bay. So I have a respect, and I don't now fear it, which held me back from making any money. Now I say, oh, I don't fear it and I don't want it. If it comes, it comes. And now it just comes in and it flows in, and I'm able to help so many people. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. I'm just going to say that after this show, I'm going to put the replay on YouTube. Yeah. And in the description of the YouTube video, there will be all the links, so you can contact Mark and work with Mark, buy his crystals and read his books and do whatever you want to do, learn from him. All the links will be in the description on the YouTube video.
Yeah, I get a bit embarrassed of that.
Yeah, well, what the heck? It's what it's all about, you know. It's all about what I talk about in my book, help each other to thrive.
Yeah, that's definitely important. Yeah, yeah, it is.
So before we close, has anybody got any questions for Mark? Does anybody want to unmute themselves and ask Mark any questions? No?
Can they unmute themselves?
Okay, I'm going to ask a question that somebody asked me earlier. I told her she had to come on and ask you herself, but she hasn't. So I'm going to ask this for her. Well, I'll tell you what she said, and I'll tell you what I said, and then I would want to hear what you said.
Okay.
She said, does Mark believe in Jesus? And I said, does Mark believe what about Jesus?
Nice.
And she said, no, does he believe in Jesus? I said, well, if you come on the show and ask him politely and respectfully, I'm sure he'll give you a frank answer, but it might not be the answer you want to hear. My take on Jesus is that he was a very interesting historical character and is now one of the ascended masters that we can work with. What's your take on Jesus?
I did a lot of studying on the Bible, and I closely followed somebody who's moved into the spirit world now called Jordan Maxwell. And Jordan Maxwell, one of his opening statements was the greatest story that was ever told. And that blew me away because it's there. It's a story, Jack. It's the greatest story. It doesn't say it's the greatest factual evidence. It's a story. Yeah. When you start looking into the Bible and reading it, there is a code in the Bible. It's all metaphor. It's all codes to be able to help us. And it's a powerful, powerful tool to help us. But just one of the things that we should all be aware of, and I think we all are now, and I think we struggle with it. And the big question is, why is it that this idea of Jesus being born and then dies and resurrected, why is it that that same story is told from century to century by different gods or belief systems? So that was one thing that made me think, well, that's a bit of a coincidence, why it's the same thing. And then I realized what it meant by the days of the dying and the resurrecting. That's all to do with the stars and how they align, and when they die, meaning go to sleep and then come back out and give light. And then I realized what the sun meant, and sun, and the O and the lazy O, which is a U, sun, the sun, for the Father, Son, the Father and the Spirit and all of the, and I'm like, okay, there's something in this. Okay, the guy turned water into wine. What is Father? What does it truly mean? Father means the heavens. And what does mother mean? Mother means the earth. So when Father rains his water on the land, the seed of land creates flowers and creates the seeds, and the seeds grow into wine. So the water creates wine because it creates the plants, which just so happen to be grapes, and then the grapes are turned into wine. So there's kind of loads of little metaphors that we can see in the Bible. And I just look at it this way. There's many sages that come into this world, without a doubt, many sages. Like now, till this day, there's sages that we don't speak about or talk about or don't even know. It could be the guy next door to you who could be blind, healing somebody every day and making an amazing difference in people's lives. Why isn't he spoke about? Why is Jesus Christ spoken about? I see a lot of people doing amazing work, even young children who are great. I met this one girl who used to hug people all the time. So she'd just go up to people and hug them out of nowhere. She's like an Amma. She's a modern day version of Amma, and she's hugging people. Why is it that we just have to think that Jesus is the only one? Why can't we say that there's so many different people in this world who have the ability of healing? Why do we have to look up to one man and say that he is that nobody else could ever be? Doesn't that hold you back from being the most amazing soul? And if we are designed, as they say in the Bible, to be the image of God, then aren't we all God, if he says that we are designed in that way? Therefore, if we are, then why can't we be what he designed us to be, which is healers and kind and caring and loving people? But no, we're hijacked, Jack. All the time we're being hijacked. We're being told we're not good enough. We must look at this next celebrity because they're important. The Kardashians and Johnny Depp and all of these things that stop us from actually loving ourselves and realizing who we are. And because we don't do that, and because the black screen and because of the darkness that hijacks us, most of the world is in depression and they're lost and they don't know who they are. Why? Because they never got the tools to be able to see and feel and be the God that is within them.
Excellent answer, Mark. Thank you. I agree with you 100%. Well, I think that about wraps it up. We've done our hour. I expect you've probably gone over the hour. It doesn't matter. So thank you very much again for coming on. And thank everybody who joined us tonight. And those who haven't joined us tonight, well, I'm sure catch up on the replay tomorrow. The replay will be on Restream tomorrow, on Restream, on YouTube tomorrow, on the same link. zoomjack.uk. I'll link that up to the YouTube recording tomorrow, and all Mark's information will be there, and about his books and everything else. So thank you very much, Mark, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Jack. Lovely. Always lovely to see you, Jack. You brighten my day and my heart. You're a beautiful, good soul, and I'm proud to call you my friend. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Namaste.